I'm gonna make you a bet. If you've made at least 4 out of the 5 mistakes I'm about to tell you, you gotta subscribe. Deal? Deal. Okay, so starting off with number 1, and it is to do with youth players. If you're like me, you start a career mode, get rid of all the old players, and then build a full team of wonder kids. Well, what if I told you that that's wrong? See, there is one very important stat on career modes that I bet you haven't even heard of, and that is composure. This basically determines whether your players stay calm and composed. Now, the problem here is that youth players have a very low composure, so when it comes to big cup finals or maybe a playoff final, they panic, make mistakes and lose the game. Whereas players over the age of 30 have pretty high composure. You need to make sure you have the perfect mix of both young and old players for your team. Next up is surprisingly the number 1 way people get sacked. And no, it's not signing 3 players from North Korea. You see, when discussing a player's wage before the signing, you have the option to add a release clause. This is the amount of money you put in a player's contract. It kind of acts as like a get out of jail free pass. Let me give you an example. Say Scott McTominay's release clause is £100 million. If Real Madrid want to buy Scott McTominay, say they talk with Man United and they say no, get lost, he's our Scottish R9. What Real Madrid can do is activate that release clause, pay the 100 million and take him. The club can't decide there. Now the problem here is that if you set the release clause way too low, you'll wake up the next morning with this message. Obviously no one wants that, so I would recommend just denying a release clause unless they really want it. On a similar note, when discussing wages, if you're putting them too high, you'll also get sacked. But this isn't as extreme as to need to give them a contract of like over $1 million a week. Now I'm sure you've wanted to loan out a few players before. You list them on the market, but all you get are loan to buy options. Never accept these. Instead, delegate and change it to a straight loan. Don't negotiate, as 99.999% of the time they just say no. All you do then is wait a couple days and you'll get a message saying they'll take the loan. This works around 90% of the time, so it's not guaranteed, but it's still pretty likely. The next mistake is not attending the press conferences. And I know it's boring, I know no one likes it, I don't either, but it's only 3 questions and it boosts player morale, club morale, and lowers the chances of you getting sacked. Speaking of getting sacked, if you don't want to get sacked, you gotta avoid something that you probably do most of the time without even thinking about it, and that is quick simming games. You gotta stop doing this, but don't worry, I have a workaround. Things like going to the calendar and simming months at a time is something you want to avoid, as the chances are you lose most of these games and end up getting the sack. On a similar note, quick simming games individually are slightly better, but it's still probably going to lead to a loss. If you want to actually be winning games, you gotta play it yourself. And if you really don't want to be doing that, shorten the halves down to 3 minutes a half to make the games go by way quicker. But the thing is, after all this, you're still making one huge mistake, and you can find that out in this video where I tell you 7 secrets I regret not knowing before playing EAFC 24 career mode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!